Hi, everyone. My name's Charlie Apigian.
And I'm Charlie Yielding, and this is the teaser for the Data for All podcast.
And we want to spend the next 5 or so minutes just talking about what is Data for All, why us, and what you can expect. So let's get started. Hit the music.
Welcome to the Data for All podcast. I'm Charlie Yielding.
And I'm Charlie Apigian, where we want to empower you to think different with data.
So welcome to the teaser episode. This is our opportunity to give some insight on what this podcast is going to be, who we are, and what to expect.
And let's get started with what we really mean with data for all. And you heard us say to think different with data. So we want this podcast to be for everyone, and let's really dissect the think different with data.
And what that really means to me is that we're all surrounded by data. We all use data, whether we like it or not, or whether we know it or not in these cases.
Exactly.
And so if you use data or learn how to use data in your everyday life, you're going to reduce the amount of stress, increase the change, and find a better focus for your time and attention in the future.
Yeah. So basically what you're getting to is think different with data is a mindset that we want to be able to preach through this podcast. And I say preach in a very light and lighthearted way. So with data, so think different with data. Data for all means we're looking to give this out to who? Who are we trying to reach out to, Charlie?
All? But you got to tell me who all is.
Okay, well, we'll do that here. So all, I love that it goes to the actual name. So data for all, when we say that, what we're really referring to is, believe it or not, folks, it's you. Whoever you are the target for this. We want to take complex data or just the data for everywhere idea and bring it down into a simple package that everyone can understand. So it is for you. So who are you? You are either the everyday person that is data curious, but you may not realize that you use data. We want you to be part of this journey with us. Or maybe you do use data and you know that you use data and you want to be a little bit more effective with that. And the best way to do that is to change your mindset. And then let's remember, there are a lot of data people out there that are really good at what they do. Maybe they're good technically, maybe they're good at the math part, but everybody, including myself, including you, Charlie, the other Charlie, by the way, needs to get a better understanding of how they can turn data into action. And we're going to talk a lot about data to action as we go through this.
So this isn't just for the academic.
This is definitely not from the academic.
Or the professional.
Or the professional. So it sounds like you're setting me up for why us? And so why should it be two guys named Charlie talking about this?
Well, we represent a large portion of the data community as it stands right now. Like I mentioned, you're the academic.
Yes,
professor
I am an
at
academic.
Belmont,
That's
and
right.
I'm the professional, a CEO who's worked my way up through the ranks over the last 13 years, and I use data for a big chunk of that growth.
So what you'll get from us is different perspectives from the practitioner and also from the academic. Now, I like to not think of myself. I think of myself as the non-academic in academia a lot of times. And you're going to hear me talk about a lot of projects I do, a lot of good in the community. I think it's good in the community from a data perspective. And all of that experience that I have taken over the last 20 years, seeing people become the data professional, but also living and breathing it every day, as well as you, Charlie, who started out trying to figure out your path and had to do it on your own in the real world environment. I think maybe our appreciation for data and our understanding is something that we can bring to people.
Absolutely.
And I love that. So I'm excited to get into our topics. Can't wait for episode 1. Can't wait we have some incredible topics coming up. Let's talk about some of those topics that we're going to have. I mean, we're starting out by just talking about demystifying data in the beginning. What are some of the other topics that we're going to cover?
We'll be getting into some very relevant personal issues when it comes to data, because we were talking about data privacy, data ownership, data security. Like, how do you make sure that your information doesn't live out in the open world?
Oh, you're going to make us scared a little bit too.
A little bit.
I like it. And data storytelling is going to be a topic. We're going to bring some friends of ours onto the podcast that are really good at this and get them to help us tell the story behind some of these topics as well.
Yeah, I'm especially excited for the storytelling episode.
Well, it's something I love to talk about and teach these days. We're also going to do data for good and talk about what that really means for you as well as your community. And also, how about just getting started in your data career? And we got to help people just know what that means. And I think the insight that we're going to be able to bring with some of our guests is going to truly be empowering.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to empower you with data.
I love it. He keeps going back to our themes throughout this. And to just give you some other expectations for what you can have with this podcast, from a format perspective, we're not going to make this the academic podcast.
Yeah.
Not that I think of. I expect to have a lot of informal conversations throughout this.
There is literally no way I could do this if this wasn't informal.
And we plan to bring on guests, but those guests will be contributors. They will be telling the story with us throughout this. So with that, hopefully we gave you a little bit of insight into what is data for all and what is to think different with data. And that's a mindset, folk, that everybody should hopefully embrace. And we hope to do that through some really cool topics with some really good people as we get going in an informal conversation. Does it sound like data for all?
Yep. Every listener can be that fly on the wall in the room with a good conversation going.
That's great. So expect that first episode 1, coming out soon, demystifying data, and maybe you'll even learn a little bit more about these Charlies.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, and we will see you in that first episode. Thanks, everyone.